Hi guys, Paul here, and straight out of the gate, I need to shout out a big thank you to Ashur Nanno of vivartmedia.com for donating an intro and outro for my work. There's a link to Ashur's site in the low bar. Thanks, guy. That being said, I suppose I should offer some sort of warning about this video. For many, this one may be the most boring video I've ever done. But since it also may be one that saves your life, I'm going to do it anyway. 5 years ago, I saw a doctor because I was struggling with a loss of energy and a few other minor medical issues. My attitude going to see him was pretty much what it had been my whole life. Listen to what the doctor said, wait and see if there was a pill or a shot he could give me to fix it, and then go on about my business. This was at a VA hospital, so to be honest, I wasn't expecting any kind of miracle. And sure enough, all this guy wanted to talk about was my diet. I was about 70 pounds overweight and still hadn't made any firm connection to the idea that it might have something to do with my health. Hell, I was always a big guy, and in my day I could bench more than my own weight. So no problem, right? I'll have to give that doc some props, though. At least what he had to say was interesting. I'm quoting him as best I can here from memory. Paul, he said, in a very thick Eastern European accent, sugar manufacturers have killed more people than tobacco companies. And then he added something else I remember equally well. He said, everything you've ever been told about food is wrong. We, meaning the medical establishment, got everything backwards, and for the most part, we are still screwing it up. He then went on to talk to me about processed food, simple carbohydrates, and a few other things, but by that time, I was starting to lose interest. At that point in my life, any conversation about food that ruled out fried rice, pasta, bread, and a host of other items was going to be a short one, ending with me saying, whatevs. He mentioned things like hyperinsulinism, metabolic disorder, diabetes, and the long list of other unsavory possibilities stemming from the wrong food. But by this point, my attention was more on the door than on anything he was saying. I was all like, fuck this. I'm a little tired. I'll drop a few pounds, quit smoking, and maybe get some more exercise. Well, after I stopped at my favorite Italian place on the way home, that is. Fast forward 4 years, and there I was, still 70 pounds overweight, tired and feeling run down. By the way, shortly after seeing the doc, I did quit smoking. I was sure that would make me feel a lot better. I kept waiting for it to happen, but it didn't. Anyway, there I was, 4 years later, wolfing down a massive bowl of pasta in a simple sauce of garlic and butter, and an hour later I started having heart palpitations. I'd had them before, brief little flutters that passed in a few seconds, no big deal. Only this time wasn't like the other times. It was like my heart was doing the mamba inside my chest, and it wasn't stopping. Finally, after a few hours, I figured out it wasn't going away, so I ended up in the nearest ER with them trying to figure out if they were going to put the paddles on me to shock my heart back into rhythm. They checked my blood glucose. It was 575. If you know anything about blood glucose, you know that ain't a good number. They gave me a shot of insulin. A short time later, my heart was back in normal rhythm. Well, as normal as it could be for a guy who was just told he had diabetes and afibrillation. Researching both of those words didn't help me feel any better either. They are both disorders with some very potentially nasty consequences, including a major hit to the wallet. I went to a civilian hospital because I didn't want to go to the VA for anything really serious. $13,000 for spending about 4 hours there. Overall, a shitty day in Paulsville. And all because I didn't want to listen to the doc at the VA 5 years earlier. If I had, I'd be doing this video on something else. I'm telling you all this personal stuff for a reason. I know that this video won't be going viral. I know that some people might not even like it because they don't see it as men's issues in the way they're used to hearing about men's issues from me. I know that a lot of younger guys won't listen to this any more than I listened to my doc at the VA 5 years ago, and a lot of older guys too, if they have not made that same trip to the ER. But health is a men's issue, especially given our life expectancy problems. I've learned quite a bit about it in the last year for the most inspirational reason of all, because I had to. I'm going to tell you what I learned from experience. I don't expect that everyone will think I'm right. One of the many things I've learned is that in the culture of diet and health, there are ideological wars every bit as intense and vitriolic as you see in gender politics or anywhere else. I am not taking on a new direction in my work. This will almost certainly be the only video on nutrition I ever do, but not doing it would be negligent. So here we are. Oh, and I'm not here to argue about it either. I'm just going to tell you about what I've learned and seen happen in my own life. 1, everything I was ever taught about food my whole life was wrong. And 2, the entire food industry, including the grocery store you shop at, has killed more people than tobacco companies. Oh, and as you've been told so often by SJWs, white is evil. White includes sugar, flour, pasta, rice, and potatoes. You want to know what makes the most people sick? Why we have an epidemic of childhood and adult diabetes? Look at just about any food that is white and you have a good start on the answers. Products made with enriched flour, simple and refined carbohydrates might as well come in brown bags labeled sugar. They are metabolized in the body the same way, causing the same spikes in insulin, the same hyperinsulinism, the same metabolic disorder, the same diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. By the way, complex carbs, whole grains, and the like are somewhat better, but they are not the healthy alternative that food merchandisers make them out to be. And look, I'm not on a quest for immortality here. I'm 59 and could check out before I finish this video. For that matter, you could be 21 and check out before you finish watching. That's just the way life is. This is much more about quality of life than quantity. And as you will see, it is also about freedom. Freedom, in my opinion, is the greatest men's issue of our time. Unfortunately, it took a rather pucker-inducing trip to the ER to figure that one out. After that, I did what most men do when they decide they really want to take something on. I started digging into some knowledge, not just the bullshit recommended diet you get from the American Diabetes Association, which I can assure you is bullshit, more likely to give you diabetes than help you manage it, but digging through the vast interwebs for the information that food producers, food retailers, the pharmaceutical industry, and a bunch of other people would rather not have front and center in social consciousness. Doing that is a treacherous journey. Lots of people out there are selling shit that gives them an agenda as corrupt as domestic violence advocates. The medical pharmaceutical industry is a huge part of that problem. It was very hard for me to know exactly what to believe. Yet again, like most rational people are prone to do, I decided to believe what I could see with my own eyes. I lost the 70 pounds. I now weigh what I did in my 20s. I found it easy, indeed effortless, to maintain the weight. My blood sugar stays at very respectable levels, and I feel about 100 times better. Oh yeah, and the very shitty experience of afibrillation has not returned. I've even had a few people show up in the comments in the last year saying that they thought I looked sick. It was actually just the opposite. The weight loss was showing. I wasn't sick. I was actually getting healthy. And I did it eating like a king. Loads of fat, steak, sausage, eggs, butter, and low-sugar vegetables. I even do a slight cheat here and there. I allow that once a week, even though most days I don't even want it. Other than the health concerns associated with smoking, another reason I'm glad that I quit that one is because I'm no longer a slave to tobacco companies. They no longer get me to waste my money buying their poison. I told R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris to fuck off and went my own way. I look at food the same way now. The entire food industry is happy to sell you toxic garbage. The packaged food supply is inundated with added sugar to keep you coming back for products. Shit that doesn't even need sugar gets it because it's addictive. When you do enough research, you figure out that even most of the stuff in the grocery store that is labeled as heart-friendly and healthy is just more marketing bullshit for toxic, addictive products. The medical establishment is happy to treat you for the diseases all this skullduggery causes, and the pharmaceutical companies are only too happy to sell you maintenance medications at outrageous prices to prolong the amount of time it takes toxic foods to kill you. Like I said, I ain't imagining here that I'm going to beat death. That day comes for us all. But as a man going my own way, I feel a lot more confident about that not being enslaved to shit that is killing me. I'm going to recommend a website in the low bar. I have no relationship at all to that site. I did not even frequent it with any regularity to reshape my relationship with food. It just happens to be one place with information I find trustworthy among a lot of places that aren't. It's your journey, so if you want more education on this stuff, you'll see your way through it. Either way, in my next video, it will be back to business as usual. But if you want to start this minute making a change for the better, all you have to do is remember one thing. White is evil. And that's it for another Talk from an Ear for Men. As always, I hope you've enjoyed, even if you haven't, and we'll see you next time.